Credit is one of those things that really makes the world go round. It's the engine that powers everything from a tiny startup to a family's first home. It's supposed to be this amazing tool for growth. But here's the thing. For millions, and I mean millions of people around the world, that credit market is basically a locked door. So today, we're going to pick that lock. We are diving deep into the economics of credit to figure out why this powerful tool so often fails the very people who need it the most.
Okay, so let's just jump right into the big question. One that honestly sounds like a complete paradox. We all know there's incredible ingenuity, this amazing entrepreneurial spirit in communities all over the world. So how is it possible that the people with these brilliant, game-changing ideas are often seen by banks as the absolute worst bets? It doesn't seem to make sense, right? Well, that's the central puzzle we're going to solve together.
To get to the bottom of this paradox, we have to put ourselves in a different pair of shoes. We need to get inside the head of a lender. See, their main worry isn't about whether you're a good person or if your idea is fantastic. Nope. It all comes down to something way more practical. What happens if things go wrong and the loan doesn't get paid back? And this right here, this slide, just nails the core of the issue. It has absolutely nothing to do with someone's character. People are people. The problem is that a lender, well, they just can't run a business on good intentions alone. They need a safety net, a guarantee. And for so many potential borrowers, that safety net, it just isn't there.
That safety net, it has a name you've definitely heard before. Collateral. Think about it. It's the house you put up for a mortgage or the car for a car loan. It's basically the lender's insurance policy. It's what lets them sleep at night, knowing that one way or another, they're likely to get their money back. So if you don't have an asset like that to pledge, you're essentially asking a lender to take a huge leap of faith.
Now, what's so interesting here is how it all just boils down to simple math. For a loan to actually work, the whole system has to be set up so that repaying is always the smarter choice. I mean, look at the numbers on your screen. Repaying the loan cost this entrepreneur $220,000, but defaulting, oh, that costs way more, $285,000 when you add up the lost collateral, the profits they'd have to give up, and all the other penalties. The pain of defaulting has to be greater than the pain of repaying. That's the logic that makes the entire system tick.
Okay, but what if you don't have that kind of collateral? Or what if the lender can't really see what you're doing with the money? Well, it turns out the real currency in these credit markets isn't just cash or assets, it's information. And a lack of information? Well, that creates two very different kinds of nightmares for a lender.
And this lays it out perfectly, the two big headaches. On the left, you've got involuntary default. This is just plain old bad luck. The borrower wanted to pay, they really did, but a flood wiped out their crops, the business failed, something went wrong. But on the right, you have something else entirely, strategic default. This is a cold, hard, calculated decision. The borrower has the money, but they choose not to pay because, hey, maybe the consequences just aren't that bad.
And here's the crucial part. From the lender's point of view, sitting in their office miles away, both of these defaults can look exactly the same. Did the business really fail, or is the borrower just saying it did? Are they unable to pay, or are they unwilling to pay? This uncertainty, this big information gap, is the #1 reason why credit markets for the poor can just completely break down.
So how do lenders in the real world even begin to solve this massive information problem? Well, let's step away from the big banks and look at the informal marketplace. It operates by a totally different set of rules, and it presents us with a really counterintuitive puzzle.
Just think about the huge difference between these two. The big city bank has tons of money, sure, but it's also kind of blind. It can't see what's happening on the ground in a small village, so it has to rely on standard legal stuff like a deed to a house. But the village moneylender, they have a massive advantage: information. They know everybody. They know who's trustworthy. They can watch the projects, and they can accept collateral a bank would laugh at, like a promise for a share of the next harvest. This local knowledge leads to something really strange, something that seems to break the most basic laws of economics. In pretty much any other market, if a customer wants more of something and is willing to pay a higher price, you sell it to them, right? But in these informal credit markets, that's often not what happens at all. So what's going on?
This bizarre phenomenon has a name. It's called credit rationing. It's when a lender looks a customer right in the eye, a customer who is begging to borrow more money and is happy to pay a higher interest rate, and the lender just says, "Nope, sorry, can't do it." I mean, it's just weird. It's like a bakery refusing to sell its very last loaf of bread to a hungry customer who's waving cash in their face. It just defies simple supply and demand.
And here is the brilliant and kinda unsettling reason why. Cranking up the interest rate isn't just about changing the price. It actually changes the type of customer who walks through your door. A super high rate might scare off all the careful, low-risk borrowers. The only people left might be the ones taking huge gambles. Even worse, if the interest rate is punishingly high, it can make that whole strategic default idea look a lot more tempting. So, in a crazy paradox, by trying to make more money, the lender actually increases their chance of losing everything.
So, if traditional collateral doesn't work for the poor, and just raising interest rates is a flawed tool for managing risk, are we just stuck? Is there no way out? Not at all. The answer, it turns out, lies in completely reimagining the very foundation of lending.
And the story starts back in the mid-1980s in Bangladesh with an economist named Muhammad Yunus. He saw this massive market failure happening right in front of him, and he decided to create a whole new institution to fix it. He called it the Grameen Bank. Now, the absolute genius of the Grameen model wasn't that it got rid of collateral. It's that it replaced financial collateral, like a house or a car, with something way, way more powerful in a tight-knit community: social collateral. Just look at how this works. The bank doesn't vet the borrowers, it actually lets the borrowers vet each other. They form their own little groups, and because the entire group's access to future loans is on the line if just one person messes up, well, everyone has a massive incentive to pick reliable partners, to keep an eye on each other, and to even help each other succeed. They basically solve the bank's information problem for the bank.
So, did it work? Oh, you bet it did. The results were just staggering. A repayment rate of over 97%. I mean, that is truly world-class. It's the kind of number that would make the CEO of any major global bank green with envy. And it proved, once and for all, that the poor are not bad credit risks. They were just stuck playing in a system that was badly designed for their reality.
So, after this whole journey into the weeds of the economics of credit, what's the big takeaway? What should we remember?
Well, first, and this is the big one, this is an information problem, not a character problem. Second, we learned that lenders are always trying to navigate these twin fears of bad luck and bad faith. Third, we saw that when formal systems fail, that local, on-the-ground knowledge becomes incredibly valuable. And finally, and maybe most inspiringly, we saw how true innovation can leverage our social networks to create a whole new kind of collateral, one that's built on trust and reputation.
And that leaves us with one last, really fascinating thought. The solution to this huge economic problem wasn't some complex financial product cooked up on Wall Street. It was about understanding and using the power of community. And it just makes you wonder, if social trust and peer pressure can be used to secure loans, what other massive, intractable problems could we solve? Not with more capital, but just with more community. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.